The kettle screams as the wind rattles the kitchen window. Lorraine snatches it off the burner, hand shaking. On the table, a plain envelope waits like a trap. She slices it open with a butter knife, breath held. 4 words drop her heart. She is still alive. The mug slips and shatters on the floor. Tea spreads like an amber bruise across tile. Outside, October breathes cold through the seams. Lorraine presses the paper to her chest. 20 years elapse into a single gasp. She remembers the posters on telephone poles, the tiny shoes lined on the search table, her badge turning heavy as whetstone, the way the town learned to hate her, the way she learned to join them. She checks the envelope for a postmark. Nothing but a smear, like a Hafirist word. No return address, no clue to hold, just the voice of a ghost in ink. Just hope, dangerous and bright. The clock in the hall hits 3 times, the same number as the week Emily vanished. Lorraine feels the old storm gathering. She swallows the taste of copper fear. She folds the letter like it might cut. The phone on the counter stays silent. No one to call who would believe. She opens the junk drawer for her keys. They rattle like small bones in metal. The road to Hollow Creek wakes in her mind. She leaves the mug shards for later. She leaves the porch light burning behind her. She leaves the safe shape of her quiet grief. The engine coughs, then catches, then roars. The past climbs into the passenger seat. The highway unspools in gray ribbon. Pines lift their black arms against the sky. Lorraine drives with the letter on the dash. Every mile feels like a question mark. Every question tastes like rust. Flashback, a siren on a summer night. Flashback, lake water slick as oil. Flashback, tiny footprints ending in weeds. A mother's scream carving the dark open. Lorraine's promise swallowed by silence. She had followed the wrong trail once, trusted a rumor that felt like truth. The town watched her fail in slow motion. Her partner said it could happen to anyone. The town said it happened because of her dot at a gas station. She studies the bulletin board, lost dogs, a bake sale, a guitar lesson. Nothing about a girl named Emily. Nothing about 20 missing nothing about second chances. She plays the letter in her head again. She hears it like spoken words, a woman's voice, low and steady, or a man disguising tenderness with cold. She cannot decide which frightens her more. In the bathroom mirror she meets herself, lines where laughter used to sleep, eyes trained to read rooms like maps, a mouth that forgets to smile, a spine that remembers duty first. Back in the car, rain starts to tap. It writes Morse on the roof, urgent, spare. Lorraine turns the wipers too high. Hollow Creek signs appear in the mist. She does not turn around. Main Street is dressed in pumpkin orange. Hay bales lean near hand-lettered signs. The bakery exhales cinnamon and regret. Lorraine parks where she once parked patrols. Ghosts step out of memory and stare. Windows become eyes as she walks. She feels the hush tilt toward her. A name flutters behind closed mouths. Mitchell, like a bruise under makeup. Mitchell, like whether you fear returning. She pushes into the police station lobby. New paint, new faces, old air. Plaques shine with names that replaced hers. Behind the desk, a young deputy blinks. His smile is the color of caution. "I'm here to see the sheriff," she says. The deputy asks for a reason. She slides the letter across the counter. He reads, then pretends not to tremble. "Wait here," he says to the floor. The sheriff arrives with measured boots, broad shoulders, autumn beard, chilled eyes. "Ms. Mitchell," he says without warmth. "We have handled that case for years." "What if it still breathes?" she asks. He folds the paper once, then twice. "Hoaxes happen every season," he says. "We do not chase ghosts for sport." Lorraine names the lake and the week. His gaze flickers, a match in wind. "Stay out of the field," he warns. "Old cases eat people alive." "I was already eaten," she answers. She pockets the letter and turns. The town follows her out with silence. The storage unit yawns like a cave, boxers labeled with the dead and missing. Lorraine unlocks the rust with WD-40. Dust rises, a memorial of particles. Her past waits inside, patient as moss. She finds the case file in a blue crate, photos sealed in sleeved plastic. Her handwriting, younger, more certain, a folded map with a red X frost lake, circled like a wound. She spreads the map on the hood. Pine resin scents the cooling air. A crow laughs from a telephone wire. The X sits near the northern shore, a place she never fully searched. By dusk, she reaches the old trailhead. The path is a ribbon of soaked leaves. Her flashlight combs the breath of trees. The lake shows first as a darker dark. Wind carries the metal smell of rain. She kneels at the boulder by the reeds. Something glints where water licks stone. Her fingers pulled a thin silver chain. A tiny star pendant clings with mud. Emily wore stars to feel brave. Lorraine's throat closes around a prayer. The chain is not yet rusted through. Someone placed it here long after. Footprints pucker the shore's soft skin. Fresh, narrow, heading into the tree line. She snaps photos, heart steadying to work, marking distances, angles, broken stems. The habit of method returns like breath. She bags the pendant with a label. Then hears a branch break behind her. She kills the flashlight in one small click. Night pours over her like ink. The reeds whisper and then hold still. Lorraine lets her eyes grow wide. The lake draws her outline thinner. Footsteps try to learn stealth and fail. Weight shifts. Leaf litter groans. Whoever watches thinks distance is safety. Lorraine knows safety is a rumor. She speaks to the dark without fear. I'm not the one you should fear. Her breath fogs. Her voice stays low. Tell me if she's alive, she says. The silence thickens into presence. A bird erupts and then nothing. She turns the light back on, slow. Only cedar, water, her own pulse. Still, the feeling clings like burrs. She photographs the second set of prints. They are smaller than a man's. On the walk back, rain loosens the path. Mud keeps a record of haste. She writes notes beneath the hatchback light. Star pendant, North Shore, unknown watcher, possible lead, survivor or handler. The road out is a black ribbon. Headlights catch a pale shape once, a face, or just the trick of fog. Lorraine keeps the car at 40. She does not chase what won't be caught. At the motel, the lobby TV hums. Shots of football and weather warnings. She pays cash and keeps her name small. In the room, she spreads the files. The bed becomes a paper shore. She listens through the thin wall hum. Someone coughs. Someone laughs. Someone weeps. She plays the day back frame by frame. A chain, fresh prints, eyes in trees, a hook set deep for tomorrow. The morning hangs heavy with mist as Lorraine drives toward the old warehouse district, where the river bends like a scar through the outskirts of Hollow Creek. She parks near a row of silent trucks, each one layered in dust and memory. Inside, the smell of oil and rust feels almost familiar. In the far corner, she sees him, Walter Hensley, her former partner. Older now, the weight of years bending his shoulders but not his gaze. He recognizes her before she speaks. Lorraine, he murmurs, as if saying her name might summon ghosts. She studies him in the dim light, noticing the nervous twitch of his jaw, the hesitation in his breath. They were once a team, the kind that trusted each other through gunfire and grief. Now there's only space between them and something colder than distance. She shows him the letter. He stares too long before handing it back. You shouldn't have come here, Walter says, voice low but trembling. That case, it's buried for a reason. Lorraine steps closer, her eyes sharp enough to cut through his fear. You mean someone buried it, she replies, and you helped cover the grave. He looks away, guilt flickering behind the hard shell of his silence. Outside, the fog presses against the broken windows like it wants to listen. He finally speaks again, softer now. You don't understand, Lorraine. There were people. He stops, chewing the rest of the sentence. The pause says more than any confession could. Lorraine feels the old ache of betrayal pulse beneath her ribs. She remembers the night Walter told her to walk away. The night everything went dark. She thought he meant it for her safety. Now she isn't so sure. Before she can ask again, a sound echoes from the back of the warehouse, a metallic clang, followed by hurried footsteps. Both of them turn, eyes narrowed. Lorraine draws a small flashlight from her coat and sweeps the beam across shadows that refuse to stay still. The echo dies, but the fear remains. Walter mutters something about rats. Yet his hands shake too much for the lie to hold. Lorraine lowers the light and studies him one last time. If Emily's alive, someone's keeping her that way, she says. And if you know who, you're already on the wrong side of this. Walter doesn't answer. His silence confirms what she already suspects, that truth, in Hollow Creek, was never lost. It was hidden, and someone paid to keep it that way. As she walks out into the damp October air, the first drop of rain hits her wrist like a pulse. The town hums quietly in the distance, pretending to sleep. Lorraine knows the storm is coming, not the one in the sky, but the one in her soul. The letter in her pocket feels heavier now, almost alive. Something is beginning to move beneath the surface, and it's pulling her deeper. Back at her rented room, Lorraine lays the old investigation box open across the bedspread. the same box that once held the remains of her pride. Inside, beneath faded reports and fingerprint sheets, she finds her small tape recorder. The plastic has yellowed with time, but when she presses play, the machine still hums with fragile life. The hiss of old audio fills the room, like breathing from another time. Her own voice emerges first, younger, steadier, explaining the evidence. Then, another voice joins, Walter's laughing faintly before fading out. She fast-forwards through static, stopping when she hears something that chills her, a deep male tone saying, "She knows too much." Then the tape cuts off. No timestamp, no context, just fear, sealed in magnetic dust. Lorraine rewinds and listens again, slower this time, her heart sinking with every whisper. She remembers the night she recorded that tape. It was the evening before the department shut down the search for Emily. Someone had called her with a lead, a child's voice crying near the lake. But when she arrived, there was no one there. The next morning, the tape had been gone from her office drawer. Until now, she realizes this copy must have come from someone inside the department who wanted her to hear it now. Not then. Lorraine leans back against the headboard, eyes on the ceiling, the hum of the motel fridge, the dripping faucet, the faint rumble of a truck outside. Everything sounds like part of the recording now. She knows paranoia when she feels it. But this is different. This is memory fighting its way to the surface. Her instincts, dulled by 2 decades of grief, are waking again, and they are hungry. She pulls out her notebook and begins to map the connections. The letter, the pendant, Walter's silence, the anonymous voice, lines crisscross the page like veins. Every detail feels alive, pulsing, waiting to converge into something terrible and true. She circles one phrase: she knows too much. If Emily is alive, someone else still fears her. That means the secret isn't over. Lorraine rewinds the tape one last time and listens with her eyes closed. Somewhere in the background, barely audible beneath the hum, she catches a faint sound, a door creaking open, followed by a girl's sob. Her pulse spikes. That wasn't just evidence, it was a cry for help, preserved in time. Someone recorded that moment on purpose. Someone wanted her to hear it now. When she finally turns off the recorder, the silence feels heavy, almost sacred. She places the tape on the nightstand and stares at it, knowing sleep won't come. Outside, the wind rises through the trees, carrying whispers she can almost translate. "Keep going," it seems to say. "You're not done yet." And Lorraine, for the first time in years, believes it. The road to the northern ridge winds through trees that drip with gold and red. Lorraine drives slowly, the gravel crunching like bones beneath the tires. The address she traced from the tape's evidence leads her to an overgrown path, ending at a house that looks forgotten by both time and mercy. Its windows are blind, its paint peeled away by seasons of silence, yet something about it feels watched. She steps out of the car, flashlight in hand, and the air instantly shifts. The smell of damp wood and mold mixes with the faint sweetness of something long dead. Maybe flowers, maybe memory. The porch creaks beneath her boots as she pushes the door open. Inside, the dust swirls in columns of light, and the house exhales a sigh that sounds too human to be just wind. Every corner seems to whisper, someone lived here once, and didn't leave by choice. In the living room, she finds toys, small ones, scattered as if waiting for play to resume. A stuffed bear with one eye, a doll missing a hand. On the wall, faint drawings made with crayon, stars, lakes, a little girl's smile. Lorraine's chest tightens as she recognizes the style. Emily used to draw like that, always adding a single blue line through the middle, calling it the sky that doesn't forget. She follows a trail of footprints in the dust to the back of the house. There, on a crooked table, sits a stack of photographs, some recent, some old. Her fingers tremble as she flips through them, and then she freezes. One picture shows a teenage girl sitting by a window, older but unmistakably Emily. Same eyes, same dimpled chin. The photo is dated just 3 months ago. Lorraine feels her pulse roar in her ears. She turns the photo over. On the back, a single phrase written in shaky handwriting, "Don't let them find me." The weight of those words knocks the air from her lungs. Emily is alive and hiding. Lorraine pockets the picture, her resolve hardening like stone. Someone has kept the girl captive or protected, and either way, it's her job to uncover the truth. A floorboard groans above her head. She freezes, listening. Then another step, deliberate this time. She flicks off her flashlight and waits. The air upstairs thickens with movement. Lorraine backs toward the door, gun drawn, heart pounding in rhythm with the old house. When she steps outside, the forest feels different, quieter, as if holding its breath. She looks back once, and in an upstairs window, a curtain moves, not by wind. Back in town, Lorraine sits in her car outside the library, staring at the stack of envelopes she found inside a box beneath the photographs. The paper is yellowed, but the ink's still fresh. The handwriting, small, rounded, trembling, is unmistakably that of a child. Every letter begins the same way, "Dear Mr. W," and with each new page, the tone changes, growing older, more desperate, as if the writer were growing up inside the same cage. She opens one of the later letters and reads it aloud, her voice cracking. "I dream of the lake sometimes. I think the stars remember me. Tell her I'm sorry for running." Lorraine's chest tightens. Emily had been writing to someone all along. Walter. Every letter was addressed to him, never sent, but carefully kept. Walter hadn't just known she was alive. He'd been part of whatever kept her hidden. Lorraine spreads the letters across the passenger seat, arranging them by date. The earlier ones sound like notes from a scared little girl. The later ones, confessions from someone learning to survive in captivity. Between the lines, she sees a pattern, mentions of the house near the Pine Bridge, of voices in the basement, and finally, the man who says the world forgot me. Each letter feels like a breadcrumb. Emily left for whoever was brave enough to follow. When Lorraine confronts Walter that evening, the warehouse is empty, his truck gone. But inside his office, she finds one last envelope, this time addressed to her. "If you found the letters, stop reading. You don't understand what they'll do to keep her hidden." Her blood runs cold. The note isn't signed, but the handwriting, sharp, precise, belongs to Walter. He knew she would come back, and he was already running from the truth. She scans the office for anything else, a clue, a file, anything. And that's when she finds the box of cassette tapes, labeled with dates that match Emily's letters. The realization hits her like thunder. Walter recorded their conversations. She doesn't know whether it was to protect her or to control her. Either way, it means the web goes deeper than she imagined. Lorraine gathers everything, the tapes, the letters, the photos, the photo, and drives through the fog like a woman possessed. The wipers beat in time with her heartbeat. She whispers to herself, "You're close. Don't stop now." The road curves, the forest leans in, and every mile feels like a step into another person's nightmare. Only, it's hers now, too. By dawn, Lorraine sits at the edge of Frost Lake again, the sun rising pale over the trees. The water is calm, its surface holding the sky like glass. She places the letters in her lap and reads the last one once more. "If she comes back, tell her I never blamed her. Tell her I waited." The words cut deep. Emily never stopped believing she would be found, and Lorraine never forgave herself for failing to find her. She drives to the warehouse one last time, determined to face Walter. The rain has washed the dust from the windows, leaving streaks like tears. Inside, his office is stripped, bare drawers open, papers gone, as if someone erased his existence overnight. But one thing remains, a Polaroid tacked to the wall, showing Walter with a group of men, one of whom Lorraine recognizes instantly, the former mayor of Hollow Creek. Her heart sinks. That's the connection she'd been missing. Walter appears in the doorway, eyes red, hands trembling. "You shouldn't have come," he says again, voice breaking this time. "They'll kill you if you dig deeper." Lorraine steps closer, anger and heartbreak colliding in her chest. "They already did, Walter, 20 years ago. Now I'm just coming back for the pieces." His face softens, then hardens again. A man torn between guilt and fear, he admits what she already suspects, that Emily was taken by people who wanted to silence a scandal involving illegal adoptions in the town's orphanage. Lorraine had gotten too close, and the department buried the evidence to protect the powerful. Emily was hidden to keep the story dead. Walter helped, thinking he was saving her life. But when he realized the truth, it was too late. The people in charge had too much to lose. Before he can say more, a crash echoes outside, tires screeching, doors slamming. Walter's eyes widen. "They found me," he whispers. Lorraine draws her gun, but he pushes her toward the back exit. "Go," he insists, desperation spilling from every word. "Find her before they do." She hesitates just long enough to see him turn back toward the noise, and then the gunshots start. Lorraine runs through the rain, clutching the letters against her chest. Behind her, the warehouse burns, orange light slicing through the fog. She doesn't look back. In her mind, Walter's final words repeat like a heartbeat. Find her before they do. And as the flames reflect in her rearview mirror, Lorraine finally understands she's no longer chasing the truth. She's running from it. The rain doesn't stop for 2 days, turning Hollow Creek into a reflection of itself, gray, trembling, unsure where the sky ends and the earth begins. Lorraine hides in a cabin near the ridge, piecing together the fragments Walter left behind: newspaper clippings, old police files, and those haunting letters spread across the table like bones, waiting for truth to rise from them. Each connection she makes feels heavier than the last, a pattern of silence paid for with innocence. She discovers that between 1998 and 2001, 9 children were relocated from the Hollow Creek orphanage, their paperwork forged under city funding. The mayor, the sheriff, and a handful of businessmen were listed in every approval. Emily's name appears on one list, then vanishes on the next. Lorraine realizes what she's holding isn't just evidence, it's an open wound, one the town buried under decades of politeness and fear. As the wind claws at the windows, she begins recording her own voice on a new tape. She wants proof that she's not imagining this, that her search meant something. "My name is Lorraine Mitchell," she says into the static, "and I'm done running." Her tone carries both exhaustion and fire, the kind that comes from losing everything and still finding a reason to stand. The sound of thunder answers, like applause from the dark. She rewinds the tape and plays it back, listening to her own breathing between words. The noise comforts her. For 20 years, she drowned in guilt. Now, she's starting to breathe again, even if every breath tastes like storm. She thinks of Emily somewhere out there, a woman now, maybe free, maybe still hiding. She imagines the fear in those eyes that once trusted her badge. Then, a car engine hums outside. Lorraine freezes, her instincts snapping awake like a blade unsheathed. Through the blinds, she sees headlights carving the trees, slow, deliberate, searching. Someone knows she's close. She kills the lamp and holds her breath as footsteps crunch on wet leaves. The door rattles once, then twice. Silence follows, long enough to feel infinite, and then the footsteps fade. When dawn comes, the cabin feels colder. She finds a new envelope slipped under the door, soaked at the edges. Inside is a single photograph: Emily, older, standing near the Frost Lake sign. Lorraine flips it over. The words, written in the same shaky hand as before, say, "I never left." The ink runs from the rain, but the message burns clear. Lorraine knows what she must do. She packs everything she owns into a single duffel bag and loads her gun. There's only one place left where this can end: the lake. The same lake where it all began. As she starts the engine, her reflection in the rearview mirror doesn't look afraid. It looks ready. The circle that began 20 years ago is closing, and she's walking straight into its heart. The phone rings just as she's crossing the bridge into town. The number is blocked, the signal weak, the timing cruelly perfect. Lorraine hesitates before answering, but the voice on the other end removes all doubt. "If you want her alive, stop digging." It's low, male, controlled, the kind of tone that doesn't threaten. It promises. Her pulse skips once, then steadies. "Who are you?" she asks. "Someone who still cleans up after your mistakes," the voice replies, before the line dies. The words hit harder than she expects. She remembers hearing that same voice years ago at the precinct, giving orders behind closed doors. The former mayor Raymond Keller, the man who smiled at press conferences while the town rotted beneath his shoes. Lorraine grips the steering wheel until her knuckles turn white. He's been watching this whole time, watching, waiting, and now warning. But fear doesn't work on her anymore. Not when the truth is this close. At the edge of town, she parks outside the mayor's abandoned mansion. The windows are boarded, the driveway cracked and wild with weeds. Yet a faint glow leaks from one upstairs room. She enters through the back door, her flashlight trembling across peeling wallpaper and broken portraits. The air smells of mildew and old secrets. Every step creaks like a confession waiting to happen. In the study, she finds an old rotary phone still plugged in, the line humming faintly. The receiver rests off the hook, swinging slightly. Lorraine lifts it to her ear. No voice, no static, just a faint breath, someone listening. "You don't scare me," she says, her tone steady, though her heart betrays her. A click echoes through the line, and then the sound of slow clapping fills the air. The call ends, but the applause continues from the hallway behind her. Lorraine spins, gun raised. The sound stops. Only the ticking of a grandfather clock fills the silence now. She steps forward, every nerve sharpened, and follows the echo into a small back room. There, on a dusty desk, lies another tape recorder. A note beside it reads, "Play me, detective." Her hand shakes as she presses the button. The tape begins with static, then a child's voice, Emily's whispering, "He told me not to talk." Tears blur her vision, but she forces herself to listen. The tape continues. Footsteps, a door slam, and then Keller's voice commanding, "Keep her away from the lake." The pieces finally lock together. Keller didn't just hide Emily, he orchestrated everything. And now, his empire of lies is unraveling. Lorraine pockets the tape and heads for the exit, the weight of revelation pressing hard on her chest. Outside, the sky rumbles. She knows she's running out of time. The tape is proof, the kind that could destroy Keller and the town's silence forever. But it also means he'll stop at nothing to destroy her first. As she drives toward Frost Lake, she doesn't look back. The past is behind her, burning. The future is waiting, somewhere beyond the trees. The storm arrives before she does, sweeping across the lake with sheets of silver rain that sting her skin and blur the world. Lorraine's headlights cut through the dark like a heartbeat, flashing against the water's restless surface. She parks near the same boulder where she once found Emily's pendant and steps out, soaked within seconds. Her flashlight catches movement near the old boathouse. A figure, tall, waiting. Raymond Keller stands there, an umbrella over his head, his calmness more terrifying than any weapon. "You always were persistent," he says, voice barely audible through the rain. Lorraine raises her gun, though her hands tremble less from fear than from rage. "Where is she?" she demands. Keller smirks, almost kindly. "Closer than you think. She's been here all along." The words twist through the storm like smoke before she can react. The door to the boathouse opens, and a young woman steps out. The flashlight trembles as Lorraine sees her face, older, scarred by years of hiding, but unmistakable. Emily, alive, breathing. Lorraine lowers her weapon, the world tilting around her. "Emily," she whispers, her voice cracking under 20 years of ghosts. The girl doesn't move. She just stares at Keller, her expression hollow. "He said you'd come," she says softly. Lorraine steps closer, her instincts split between protection and disbelief. "You don't have to do what he says," she pleads. But Keller laughs, stepping behind Emily, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "She's not a prisoner, detective. She's a witness, one who knows what happens to people who tell the truth." Emily flinches at his touch. The storm rages harder, wind howling through broken boards. Lorraine steadies her aim again, rain dripping into her eyes. "You used her," she says. "You used everyone." Keller sighs. The town needed order. You can't imagine the chaos the truth would cause. Lightning splits the sky, and in that flash, Lorraine sees movement, Emily shoving Keller's arm away. The sound that follows is deafening. One gunshot, then another. The boathouse shakes, and Keller collapses, his blood mixing with rainwater. Lorraine drops to her knees beside Emily, grabbing her trembling hands. "It's over," she whispers, though they both know it isn't. Keller's final words gurgle out as he dies. "You can't bury what's already rotten." The thunder drowns the rest. Lorraine holds Emily as the storm begins to break. Two survivors beneath a sky that has finally wept enough. They sit there until dawn, saying nothing. Words would only weaken the moment. The first light touches the lake, turning its surface gold. Lorraine looks at Emily and sees not a victim, but a beginning. The nightmare is over, but the reckoning has just begun. The aftermath feels almost unreal. The police call it a justified shooting. The town calls it tragedy. The news calls it closure, but Lorraine knows better. Closure doesn't feel like this, like exhaustion with no peace, like freedom that still smells of blood. She walks through Hollow Creek as the days shorten, watching the leaves fall one by one, each one a small memory hitting the ground. The world moves on, but she can't. Not yet. Emily stays in a nearby safe house under witness protection. Sometimes she calls, just to listen to Lorraine's voice. The first few times, neither of them knows what to say. Eventually, Emily begins asking questions about the past, about her mother, about the badge Lorraine once wore. Lorraine answers as best she can, though her words often dissolve into silence. Healing, she realizes, isn't loud. It's the quiet choice to keep breathing. The townspeople begin to speak again. Names, once whispered in fear, are printed in the newspaper. The orphanage files become public. The mayor's family flees the state. For the first time in decades, Hollow Creek faces itself in the mirror and doesn't look away. Lorraine attends none of the hearings. She doesn't need applause. Truth doesn't require an audience. It only requires light. One afternoon, As the last leaves fall, she drives back to Frost Lake. The water is calm again, reflecting the sky in a silver sheen. She carries the same tape recorder she once feared and sets it on the boulder beside the pendant she left before. Pressing record, she begins to speak. If anyone ever finds this, know that truth costs more than silence, but it's worth every breath. Her voice doesn't shake this time. She plays the tape back, listening to herself. The sound is strong, measured, alive. The woman in that recording isn't haunted anymore. She's human again. Lorraine smiles faintly, something she hasn't done in years, and lets the recorder rest there, her final evidence, not of crime, but of survival. That as she turns to leave, the wind lifts, scattering orange leaves across the water. They float in circles before sinking. She watches until the last one disappears, then walks away without looking back. For the first time, Hollow Creek feels smaller behind her, and the road ahead, wider, kinder. The silence that follows isn't empty, it's earned. Weeks later, Lorraine stands on the porch of her new home, a small cottage overlooking the ocean in Maine. The salt air burns clean through the remnants of old sorrow. Inside, a box of letters rests unopened on the table. Emily's new address scrawled on the top. Lorraine will answer them soon, but for now, she lets the waves do the talking. Each crash against the shore sounds like forgiveness rehearsing itself. She spends her mornings walking along the beach, the gulls calling overhead, her footprints marking temporary paths in the sand. People greet her sometimes, not knowing who she was, only seeing who she is. A quiet woman with kind eyes and a story too deep for words. She likes it that way. Identity used to be a badge. Now, it's a heartbeat. At night, she dreams of Frost Lake, not the one filled with bodies and secrets, but the one reborn in sunlight. Emily is there too, smiling, her hair unbound, her laughter carrying across the water. In the dream, Lorraine doesn't chase her. She simply watches, content to see the girl alive and free. She wakes with tears on her cheeks, but they don't sting anymore. They cleansed out one evening. A letter arrives without a return address. Lorraine recognizes the handwriting instantly. Emily writes, "I'm not afraid of the water anymore. Thank you for finding me and for letting me find myself." Lorraine reads it twice, then presses it to her heart. The tide outside keeps its rhythm, ancient and forgiving. For once, the world feels aligned. She steps outside as twilight paints the sky, lavender and gold. The ocean glimmers like a living mirror. Lorraine closes her eyes and whispers a single sentence to the wind. It's over now. But she knows it isn't about endings. It's about becoming, about finally stepping into the life she almost lost chasing ghosts. The last light of day touches her face as she stands there, motionless, the sound of waves echoing through everything she's become. She feels the same wind that once howled through Hollow Creek, now softer, kinder. Lorraine smiles, not for the past, but for the promise of what's next. Because in the end, it was never only the truth she sought, it was redemption.